Hello, and thank you for joining us on our very first AI Lead Flow podcast, where we speak to business leaders about their experiences of AI and the impact it's having on their business. Today, we're delighted to be welcoming Jonathon Davidson, who is founding partner at Davidson Co, which is a well-respected law firm based in Dubai. Jono is a very active and very well-known member of the legal and business community in the UAE, having been out there for 25 plus years, I think now. And he's also heavily involved in the Dubai British Chamber of Commerce. Jono was actually one of the first people I met when I ventured out to Dubai back in 2016 and was one of my first clients out there as well. So hi, Jono, good to see you and thanks for joining us today.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me. It's good to be on the podcast. It's exciting.
Thanks very much. Could you just kick off by telling us a bit about your background and experience, provide an overview of Davidson Co, and talk about your role as founding partner?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fairly well-trodden path. I came to the UAE, Dubai in particular, 26 years ago, and what happens is everybody comes for a finite period of time. I came for 6 months with one of the big London law firms, and after the 6 months expired, you start to get into the flow in Dubai, and it was a very different place in those days. We didn't have all of the huge tech revolution and real estate revolution that we see around the UAE now. And then when those 6 months expired, I stayed. The law firm kept me on. And there's very attractive things out here like lifestyle, weather, and of course the zero tax, personal tax makes it quite attractive as well. So stayed and then started a family. I worked for, again, a large corporate law firm, and then I worked for the Dubai government for a while. And then after those stints, I started the practice Davidson Co in 2008. So we've got sort of 16, 17 years under our belt now. We've got about 25 lawyers. We act for private individuals, wealthy individuals, expats, and their corporates. More recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a huge influx of economic tourists and economic investors who've come and brought the tech world to the UAE. So there's been a huge explosion in tech investment in the region.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, yeah, as you say, the UAE, it's been well reported that it's become a bit of a tech AI innovation hub. Is this focus kind of filtering through to businesses in the UAE, and do you think it's kind of helping them stay ahead of the latest innovations and AI generally?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, let's talk initially at the top level, government to government. There's a lot of government interaction between UAE, Saudi certainly keeping top of the market, and there's a lot of exchange of knowledge, information, and tech know-how between those governments in the US and the usual players in the US. We've had Sam Altman over here. We've had Elon Musk. We've had the semi-government, the tech adjacent people such as Jared Kushner and Donald Trump Jr. They've all been over here and they've been looking at in the tech space, and that sits across AI, stable coins, crypto, Web3. So certainly the UAE, I think, is really investing and stepping ahead. Abu Dhabi's invested huge sums of money in creating an AI infrastructure. They have a semi-government entity, a sovereign wealth fund called G42, and that's primary aim with all of its subsidiaries is to create a global AI infrastructure. Though that AI functionality is already going into governments, so government services are starting to roll out quite sophisticated AI functionality, and those government adjacent companies are then going around the world to do joint ventures with frontier and emerging countries for the same purpose, to do revenue generation. So all government services, fee generating government services, will have tech in them in the African countries, in the Southeast Asian countries, and that tech will have originated through joint ventures or through input of knowledge from the UAE.
Okay, that's great. And you're obviously well known in legal services, and you speak to a lot of people through your role in the Chamber of Commerce as well in Dubai. How are your colleagues, peers, how are they sort of seeing AI, and what is the current consensus on the impact it's going to have, especially on the legal sector?
Big law is investing very heavily in AI. Big law comprises 30 to 40% of the market. Big law is investing a lot of money in AI, and you have market leading AI products out of the US and out of Europe, like Harvey and Luminance and spell check, and those types of organizations, and they have collaborated with the law firms that comprise over 800, 1,000 people globally, spread over 10 or 15 jurisdictions. And you subscribe, Westlaw is another organization that's gone heavy into AI. And as a law firm, you subscribe to the, as software as a service or software as a product, you subscribe to the services provided by those organizations, and they would help to augment what you have internally. I think the functionality is getting there. I think the hype is ahead of the reality at the moment. I certainly don't see the partners that I know well in the big law firms telling me that AI is now doing all things to all people. But so I think it's being relied on slowly and carefully. And in small law, let's call it, I mean, my law firm, 25 people, so I'm in the boutique space. So that's probably 60 to 65% of the market globally is what's considered bespoke or boutique. And that level of the market is not launching into AI as heavily because obviously the capex and opex spend is quite heavy, and you need to have a decent return on investment. AI needs to be sufficiently evolved to be able to replace humans or to augment what humans do. And at the moment, ironically, the functionality of ChatGPT, of Grok, of all of these generic AI products and services for a boutique law firm, it's almost as advantageous to rely on those as long as you're at the front end of those than to get a bespoke service in. Because what we can do is we can take the generic parts of those and we can allow for the illusions and we can allow for the misinterpretation, but we can cross-reference that against our own knowledge and our own research. And I think that would augment our service. It would turn a 10-hour scope of work, it maybe into a 6-hour scope of work. I think the idea of big law is to turn 10 hours into 3 hours. So I think we're midway through. We're probably about 30 to 40% of the way through the journey. I'm sure AI will get there. It needs to have the relevant power, the relevant access to data. I think data's key.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think that's something I've found, and when I speak to my clients as well, it's AI, the AI tools are great. They save you a huge amount of time and effort, augment what you're already doing, but you still need that human engagement and interaction. You can't just let AI tools go off on a tangent because it's a massive risk to your own reputation, especially in terms of content creation, obviously legal sector even more prevalent. So I think, yeah, you're right. You kind of, yes, the AI tools are great and they're doing some amazing things, but you still need to make sure they're being managed effectively and properly. Obviously AI has been around for, it's been around for a long time, the kind of buzzword. It's only really kind of come into its own, I guess, since kind of the likes of ChatGPT have become more mainstream. But when did AI first come onto your radar, and when did you seriously start thinking about using AI tools in your business, in a business context?
Um, my staff I know have been using AI tools, I would say effectively for about 18 months. Um, I'm of a certain generation that takes up these things slowly and reluctantly. So I would say for me, it's been a big part of um, my learning curve and my journey in the last 6 months. And there's two parts to that. I mean, I'll give you an example. This isn't legal, but it's legal adjacent. Um, a client needed help to put together um, an evolution plan, a succession plan for his business, where his business was now, what that looked like, and where his business might be if he inputted certain things, certain resources, certain staff. And I worked with one of my associates. So it was not a legal product. It was just something I was helping the client with. And we produced a really effective business plan, putting in the correct data, the correct where we are, where we want to get to, and how we want to get there. And we produced that business plan and it was about an 8-page business plan, and we produced it in about 30 minutes. That I see as as huge value add. And also when it comes to corporate administration, like board minutes, like corporate documentation surrounding standard HR issues, standard recruitment issues, standard corporate governance, writing prospectuses for learning programs. I think that is now at the top end. It's at the front end of the market, and legal firms can use that. We can use that very effectively, and we can provide it as a value added. So Yeah, for those types of things, I'm able to give huge value add to the clients. And what I do when it's pure technocratic legal work is I would ask an AI source to provide the manual, the human source material that I want, and then I would use that as an aid memoir for my traditional research methods.
Yeah, it's great. So it sounds like you are, fully in with AI, and it's already kind of changing the way you work and your team work. Has it kind of, how much time do you think it's kind of saving you on a weekly, monthly basis across the business? And has it allowed you to take on new types of business or new types of clients?
Yeah, I think it's in the old-fashioned legal sphere. I think at the minute in my boutique space, it's saving 15 to 20%, 25% in a good scenario. That's traditional legal. That's where we're actually sourcing laws, rules, regulations, cases, precedents, that kind of thing. Because you have to be very careful. I mean, there's a very famous story that goes around the market now that in the US there were certain precedents quoted by a lawyer in court, and the AI completely fabricated those precedents because they fit the argument the lawyer was trying to make. I mean, we're nowhere near that space. But in terms of chronologies, aid memoirs, in terms of uploading standard documentation, 40, 50, 60 pages, lever arch files as in the paper world, and getting the AI to read those lever arch files and format them and put them into a summary, put them into a chronology, put them into a key points, keyword search. That's been absolutely crucial. And that works in deal rooms. For example, you can upload quite significant volumes of documentation into deal rooms on PDF files, on Word files, and the AI can read that, and you can use the AI to summarize. But then, if there are any key points, you would obviously always cross-examine those against the hard copies or the underlying source material.
So you've already kind of you touched on it earlier in terms of threats of AI and the hallucinations and fabrication that AI can produce, especially kind of problematic for legal firms. But where are kind of the main threats from your perspective, your own business, but also for AI, sorry, for legal firms generally in terms of the rollout of AI over the medium term, over the next few years?
I mean, if we look at the medium term as 2 to 3 years, I think the threats are limited. If we look at medium to long term over the next 5 to 10 years, I would say the threats are significant. At the moment, you have a young legal professional that is learning and being mentored and going up the food chain from a paralegal to a trainee to an associate to a partner, if that's how the progression goes. And at each stage, they're learning. And I would call it a horizontal progression at the moment because they're learning that part of their business and then moving up. They're learning that part of their business. When AI comes in, AI will cannibalize the knowledge that's needed for that slice and that slice. So that means the knowledge accumulated by the individual will be diluted. So the way I see the legal profession progressing through AI, and this is in 5+ years, is that young legal professionals will start off and will use AI for knowledge acquisition. But then human nature dictates that they will use AI to substitute their own tasks. So therefore, the knowledge acquisition will move to one side because, quite frankly, the culture will change where they don't need to acquire the knowledge because they can source the knowledge so quickly. And that knowledge becomes more and more accurate. So I see lawyers pivoting, if you like, from a horizontal learning curve to a vertical learning curve. Now, what do I mean by that? There'll be slightly less of them, and they'll be moving up here, and they'll become knowledgeable project managers, and their AI will then augment what they do at each stage of their career. So they will be project managers, they'll be stakeholder managers, they'll manage client customer relationship, but they'll resource their knowledge from the AI, from each stage of the AI's evolution in its learning, with the data that the AI consumes and how it learns to process that data. So I personally think that in 10 to 15 years' time, there may be a difficulty unless the law firms pivot back to address this. The difficulty would be is that imagine these lawyers become project managers, very knowledgeable, they have good, solid legal knowledge, and as long as they are absorbing what the AI is producing, then great, that knowledge will continue to accrue. But let's assume human nature kicks in and AI does a job and they read the job and say, that's fine. We kind of trust AI. AI has been around because in 10 years' time, the 5-year qualified lawyers will have never known a world without AI.
Yeah.
So it's the same as the mobile telephone, it's the same as the internet. They will never have known a world where they can't rely on AI. So they will rely on AI. So they'll become project managers. Now imagine then AI is moving up. What goes underneath AI? It then becomes all this blurred horizontal integration. So there's no longer lawyers. So the lawyers here, the humans, will move to the top and then will pop out and retire. So in the next 20 years, they'll leave. And I'm unclear as to what comes in beneath them. There's good, smart, solid lawyers with a widespread knowledge keep on coming in, or do project management lawyers come in who are using the AI? In which case, then the whole destiny of the legal profession and the accountancy profession and the professional services and financial services all changes.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my next questions is in terms of kind of areas of law or legal services, are there any services that you think are more immune, and which services do you think are probably most at risk from AI and may not even kind of exist in human form over the next 5, 10 years?
I think simple commercial work like contracts. Obviously, you've got now blockchain and smart contracts. So the whole way we look at contracts, if lawyers turgidly negotiate a 40-page procurement contract, I think that will disappear. I think the blockchain and the smart contracts will create standard terms and will have addendums to those standard terms, and the AI will be able to negotiate those standard terms in seconds. So I think that part will move away. I think more complicated M&A, there will be a human element, but where a law firm might spend a lot of time redlining and negotiating large contracts, that will become AI focused. And again, the humans will remain there, but they'll remain there to sense check the ultimate product. Now, in litigation, it may well be different. Litigation, I think AI will be a tool. It'll be a data collection tool. We will use AI to assimilate and accumulate huge volumes of data and to put it in summary format so we could use it for our cases. But I think that will be a slower process for AI to replace, because at the moment, some of the strongest common law, rule of law jurisdictions in the world have human judges, human lawyers, and human contact. And they are using AI for huge swathes of documentary disclosure, for discovery, for churning through large sets of data. But at the moment, the product of that is still being reviewed and analyzed by a human.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And on a personal level, are you kind of optimistic or cautious, concerned about the future of AI in terms of legal sector, but also business more generally? Are you concerned about the future of Davidson and Co, or do you think you'll be able to adapt accordingly?
I think we can adapt accordingly. I think at the moment, and certainly for the next 4 or 5 years, AI will be a learning tool. I think there have been some very strong narratives in the professional communities that they should be categorized as a learning tool and not a definitive, product source, if you like. And that narrative resonates with me because I think AI can be used to help you, but I think ultimately you should stay at the front end of the wedge, and you should be presenting to the client. But you could do it. The economic models will become very different. The AI. So then, if a law firm like mine, it may well be that we can grow our law firm more significantly if we can acquire more customer base. But we offer a more value-driven service because the AI is helping us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, something we always ask, but what advice would you give to the kind of younger generation of legal professionals coming through, maybe those that are at law school now that are kind of looking to the next couple of years? What advice would you give them coming into the sector right now?
I think you have to be tech savvy. I think coming in to the profession, you absolutely have to be able to find your way around all of the AI service providers, be that the generic ones, or be it the specialist ones. So when you do your internships, if through your learning programs and wherever you are, if you can get access to those, go and spend a lot of time on them, become super acquainted with them, because when you get to the law firms, you will be, so that the people who will mentor you will still be in the frame of mind, bar humbug, AI, not for me, but the people directly below them will be AI savvy. So if you're 2 steps below them, you need to come in and you need to be able to say, I can do that, I can do that, I can do it. And you'll use AI but then you will verify the AI. And I think the practice will be that it will go to your mentor, your senior, for the supervision, if you like, but he will have relied on you to have sourced it from the AI, but also to have fact checked it. So you need to know your business, know your law, but you'll be able to access the source of that research much, much quicker. But you need to be able to check it against the source where the source materials where the AI has got it, the data sets, and be able to present that to your seniors. So standard model learning of the law, but you need to absolutely be on the mark with using AI as a research tool.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that's the end of the first podcast. So thanks, Jono, for attending. Thanks for coming along to the interview. Really interesting insights and fascinating to get your thoughts on AI, not only in the legal sector, but what's happening in the UAE as well, and some good advice for the next generation. So thanks very much, Jono. Good to see you.
Great. It's been a pleasure. It's an honor to be part of number one. And thanks and best of luck for the future. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks very much.